And let's bring in NBC News legal analyst Misty Marris. Misty, good to see you. Let's start with Epstein here. Bondi was asked to testify on April 14th before she was fired. And today, the House Oversight Democrats said that Bondi will not escape accountability and remains legally obligated to appear before our committee under oath. What's she supposed to testify about here?
So this continues to be about the handling of the Epstein files and all of the fallout from that, Gotti. You know, with Pam Bondi, this all started with her saying that she had a bunch of documents on her desk that would make you sick and giving out binders to influencers, and then ultimately really kind of failing in the sense of the public messaging with regard to the Epstein files. And as Attorney General, you know, she's the one that's overseeing the entirety of the process with the Transparency Act and why we've seen some documents but not others. And there's still a lot of questions as to what happened with Epstein, the investigation, the prosecutions, why we didn't see more, and why we have not seen all of the documents that were supposed to be in accordance with that act. So she still has a significant amount to answer for. And by the way, we already heard her testify. And it was a lot of, I know you were probably watching it as well. There wasn't a lot of questions that were actually answered. There was a lot of kind of dodging those questions. So she's getting back in there in order to testify about the handling of that soup to nuts.
Yeah, and the family of one of Epstein's victims, Virginia Giuffre, they put out a statement today. They said, quote, "Alliance to a corrupt agenda never serves you. Another one falls on the sword to protect the powerful. We hope she has the courage to testify and actually do right by survivors this time." This time, when she appears in front of Congress, she's not the AG. Does she lose any protections she might have had before?
So she will be a civilian. She's not going to be the Attorney General. However, her handling of the Epstein files would have been during her tenure as the Attorney General, you know, the top lawyer of the land. And so any protections that would relate to her status as Attorney General would still be in place because her obligations with respect to her position were in place during the time that she was handling the files. That being said, there are still open questions specifically relating to what is actually disclosed, what has been redacted. You know, one question that still plagues me that we didn't get an answer to is the transfer of Ghislaine Maxwell to, you know, to a lesser security prison in Texas. She could not answer those questions, even though she's the one who's supposed to have the answers. So it will be interesting to see how that plays out.
Yeah, and just yesterday, Bondi appeared with Trump at the Supreme Court arguments about birthright citizenship, which is a massive case. If it were any other day, like, that would be major, major news. That whole case has such incredible ramifications, and yet it's kind of like this sidebar here. But I do want to play a little bit of what the president said about birthright citizenship. Take a listen.
All of this legislation, all of this, everything having to do with birthright citizenship, it was at the end of the Civil War. The reason was it had to do with the babies of slaves and the protection of the babies of slaves. It didn't have to do with the protection of multi-millionaires and billionaires wanting to have their children get an American citizenship.
It's interesting to hear him frame all of this like that, and you know that this is going to have to do with how the framers put things into play, and then that 1898 case that set precedent, and then fast forward to today, right? How complex is the argument that we're going to see here?
Yeah, so this argument was very complex. It's all about the statutory construction and constitutional rights. So this is the 14th Amendment, the Citizenship Clause. And the language is born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof. You have it on the screen. That's the critical question the court is grappling with, Gotti. What does subject to the jurisdiction thereof mean? Now, listen, I heard all of the oral arguments. I listened intently. It does not look like this is going to go the administration's way. And while we can never really read those tea leaves because the Supreme Court can surprise you, I think we're looking at here maybe an 8-1 decision striking down the president's executive order, or maybe all 9 justices agree. That's the way those arguments seem to be leaning. We'll know in June or July of this year.
Yeah, that's fascinating. We'll check back with you on the 8-1 or possibly 9-0. Misty Marris, thank you so much.